Hello, I'm Nicholas Katalchik. Today, I'll be speaking on the topic of Scrum Sprint Retrospectives, which are part of the Agile software development methodology known as Scrum. In the interest of full disclosure, I've been a Scrum Alliance certified Scrum Master and Scrum Product Owner since 2018. So this topic is near and dear to my heart. I've drawn from my own experiences as a product owner from the book Essential Scrum by Kenneth Rubin, and from the Scrum Alliance website for this presentation. For those who have not used or studied the Scrum software development methodology, there are 5 events, each development iteration, also known as a sprint. Some references call these ceremonies, but I'm sticking with the Scrum Alliance terminology today. Backlog refinement, which is where the work to be done in the future sprints is defined and prioritized, is an ongoing process, not an event. The events are sprint planning, where the work to be completed for the sprint is laid out and agreed upon at the start of each sprint. The daily scrum, where the development team reviews progress against the sprint plan each day and discusses roadblocks, if any. The sprint itself, when work is performed by the development team. The sprint review, where the work completed in the sprint is presented to stakeholders. And finally, the sprint retrospective, which is what I will be discussing in this presentation, is a process-oriented review. The Scrum Sprint Retrospective is intended to be an inspect and adapt activity that takes place each and every development sprint. This theme self-reflection activity may often be overlooked or underappreciated as not adding value to the product, but nothing could be further from the truth. It is an opportunity for process improvement and learning where the entire Scrum team should feel safe to share successes and challenges from the just completed sprint. The Scrum team must be honest with themselves and trust that the issues raised will not result in a blame session, nor be held against them in the future. To paraphrase the Spanish philosopher George Santayana, we must learn from the past in order to not repeat it. The Scrum Sprint Retrospective is a time when the Scrum team is gathered to improve their processes and their Scrum implementation. It is explicitly not a blame session. The Scrum Master is charged with keeping a positive, safe team learning experience. This last point cannot be overemphasized, for without a trusting, safe environment, the retrospective will be processed for process sake and not a value-adding activity. Before we get any further, please pause the recording and consider this. When was the last time your team did an honest self-assessment with the goal of improving performance? If your team is like mine, it's been quite a while. I'm frankly not very happy with that. Come to think of it, during my time as a product owner, I'd never witnessed an explicit sprint retrospective. The process occurred, but I wasn't present or even invited. More on that in the next slide. Per Rubin in Essential Scrum, the entire Scrum team should be present at the Scrum Sprint Retrospective, with other stakeholders invited as needed to discuss specific issues. But this is generally infrequent. I was excluded from the sessions because my presence would have made the rest of the team uncomfortable, as I was responsible for the contract performance review evaluations. The purpose of the small group is to keep the meeting focused and honest. The more players there are, the greater the risk of the retrospective becoming a blame session. As a Scrum Master, you want process improvement, not whining. As a product owner, I would have greatly appreciated the chance to hear what was working, what was a challenge. I would have used that information to help prioritize and sort the system requirements that I levied on the project team. Remember that simple requirements do not always have simple implementations, and that negotiation on requirements is almost always possible. As a natural process, the Scrum methodology deliberately minimizes ceremony and is vague on describing how to do a retrospective, leaving that to the implementing Scrum team to determine for themselves. The questions on your screen are suggestions only, a framework to build around. They've been helpful for teams in the past, but feel free to develop your own. I have found that while having an overly prescriptive process is bad, having no process is worse. Treat these suggested questions as the starting point for your retrospective agenda, and you'll be fine. Over the course of a long-term project, having a predefined focus for the retrospective may be helpful to the Scrum team to maintain team interest and participation. Possibilities include adopting new coding tools, techniques, processes, or procedures. Discussions should include the benefits and drawbacks of any proposed change. This is by no means a complete or exhaustive list of topics. As an example, a retrospective topic could be the Scrum team's use of test-driven development and ways to improve it. Perhaps a new testing tool or test harness would be helpful. Perhaps not. Either way, the generated discussion and associated learning is the important point. Please pause the recording and consider, how much better could your team be if they committed to continuous self-improvement and learning? Most teams pay lip service to this idea, but few teams truly embrace it. So, when and where does the Scrum team perform the retrospective? Simple. At the conclusion of each and every sprint, while the challenges faced and successes earned are fresh in the team's mind. I've learned that the best time to hold a retrospective is immediately after the sprint review, where the work completed has been delivered, stakeholders have provided their commentary, and then left the room, leaving just the development team in attendance. As a final note, please don't forget to budget a sufficient amount of time for the retrospective. 2 hours is about right for a team working on 3-week sprints. You want a thorough understanding of and agreement on improvements, not a marathon keystroke by keystroke recap. Feel free to use less time for shorter sprints, while longer iterations will require somewhat more time. Well, that is about it for this presentation. Thank you for listening.